Join in on your sofa, join in on your chair. You can fidget all you want, join in anywhere. Adventures abound, treasure to be found, wishes come true. We'll tell you a story. Will you tell us one too? Fidget story. Football Freddie.
Once upon a time, in a house made of bricks, in a town in Yorkshire, in England, in Europe, in the Northern Hemisphere, in the world, lived a girl called Freddie. Freddie loved football. She loved watching football. She loved talking about football. She loved singing football songs. She loved collecting football cards. She loved reading football magazines. She loved wearing football kits. And most of all, she loved playing football. Freddie practiced in her backyard every day. And it's Fred Farren on the ball. What promise from the youngster? What super silky skills as she breezes through on goal and shoots. Goal! What a hit! We've never seen anything like it. Remember the name, Fred Farren. Freddie loved her local team, and if she stood on tiptoes on a chair and peered out of the window in her attic bedroom over the rooftops, she could just about see the corner of their stadium. On match days, with the wind in the right direction, Freddie could hear the crowds singing to support the team. Sometimes she could hear when they scored a goal. But nowadays, more often than not, she could hear when the other side scored a goal. Back in the olden days, Freddie's team were top flight, one of the best in the whole country, scoring goals galore and winning trophies. Nowadays, they weren't flying so high or winning so many games. But Freddie was a loyal fan. She still supported them through thick and thin. One day, Freddie's mum took her to the park. As usual, Freddie was wearing her football kit and was ready to play. Some other children had put down jumpers for goalposts and were racing around after the ball. Pass to me! Offside! It seemed to be an exciting match. Freddie's mum said she could join in if she wanted. The children playing looked a bit bigger than Freddie. As she stood watching on the sideline, Freddie started to feel a little bit nervous. When the ball went out of play, throw in! One of the players noticed Freddie, and Freddie wanted to ask, "Can I play?" But she felt too small and too shy, and instead stood still and looked down at her feet. "You don't support town, do you?" called the football player as he collected the ball and saw Freddie's t-shirt. "Come on, they're rubbish. We all support United. Town haven't got any good players. Never have, never will." And the other players all laughed. Freddie looked up. The players were all wearing shiny blue United kits, not the stripy orange of town like her. The ball was thrown back into play and the game carried on without her. Feeling sad, small and shy, Freddie went back to her mum and they walked home. She headed up to her bedroom at the top of the house. She didn't practice her skills, or read her magazines, or play with her football cards, and she certainly didn't feel like singing any football songs. Freddie stood on tiptoes, on a chair, and peered out of the window in her attic bedroom, over the rooftops, so she could just see the corner of the stadium. "Oh, I wish town were in the Premier League," she said, before jumping down. As she landed on the bedroom floor, one of the floorboards lifted up, just a crack. "Oops," she said, and then, "I'd better take a look." Freddie lifted the floorboard up a little higher to see what was underneath, wondering if there was any treasure there. It is an old house after all. Freddie reached under the floorboard and pulled out a photograph. It was black and white and faded. It must have been very old, thought Freddie. It was of a football team. They were wearing stripy shirts and old-fashioned high-up shorts and were lined up around a trophy. Freddie stared at the photograph. I wish I was a proper footballer, big and strong and scoring goals and winning trophies, she said. Just then, she heard a noise. A whooshing sound and a twinkling sound. As Freddie stared at the photograph, one of the players waved at her. Freddie blinked. The footballer waved again. Freddie rubbed her eyes. The footballer in the photograph stretched his arms up, stood up, and walked out of the side of the picture. Freddie's mouth fell open. Where had he gone? "A reet handsome lad, weren't I?" said a voice. Freddie gasped as the footballer from the photograph was standing next to her. "Sorry, didn't mean to surprise you," said the footballer. "Who are you?" said Freddie in amazement. "Fred Farren," the footballer replied. "What? No, you're not. I'm Freddie Farren," said Freddie. "A reet good name, that, lass. Well, you've probably heard about me. I was in Town's 1911 Cup winning side." 1911, said Freddie. "But that's ages ago. Like olden days time." "Olden days?" said Fred. "Yes," said Freddie. "That's more than 100 years ago." "Hey, by gum. No, I suppose it were olden days then," said Fred, before exclaiming, "Hey, nowadays, does there still have football?" "Of course we have football," said Freddie. "By heck, I were right worried there for a jiffy," said Fred. "Football is the most popular game all over the world," said Freddie. Now that's summat, eh? All over the world?" "Yeah, and footballers come to play in England from everywhere. Look," said Freddie, as she showed Fred some of her football cards with famous football players from Argentina, Spain, Egypt, Senegal, Brazil. "Well, I never. Footballers from all over the world. That sounds right good. And you're a Town fan? You'd better be with a name like mine." "Of course I'm a Town fan. You can see the stadium from here." "I know that," said Fred. "I grew up here. Fancy a kickabout then?" Freddie picked up her football. "Yes," and they jogged down the stairs and out into the backyard. "Right then, lass. How many keepy-uppies can you do?" Freddie showed him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And Fred cheered. "Do you have a signature move then?" Freddie showed Fred her favourite move, a flick she'd invented to go past defenders and score goals. "Hey, by gum, I'll have to have a go at that un," enthused Fred, and Freddie taught him the move. "We'll call it a Farren special," she said. "Well, I could have done with that in cup final," said Fred. "What was it like to play in a cup final, Fred?" asked Freddie. "Well, I'll tell you something for note, it were right nerve-wracking. Here, I'll show you." Fred and Freddie shut their eyes, and there was the whooshing sound and the twinkling sound again. When Freddie opened her eyes, she was still in her backyard, although it looked a bit different. "Oh," she said. "I thought you were taking me back to the olden days or something." "Exactly," said Fred, and then a voice called over the wall from next door. "Best of luck for big match today, Fred, my lad." "Thank you, Mr. Ebblethwaite," called Fred. "Oh, you better get a move on, Fred. Best not be late today," the voice replied. "Righto," said Fred. "We'd better hop it." And he set off through the house, which was the same as Freddie's house, but looked different. Fred picked up his bike from the hallway and they were off. Freddie sitting on the handlebars as they wobbled down the street, which was the same as Freddie's street but looked different, towards the stadium. On the way to the stadium, they passed a woman in a doorway with a basket of washing.
Go on, Fred, me lad. Do us proud.
I'll do my best, Mrs. Murgatroyd, called Fred. They passed a group of children who ran alongside the bike, asking Fred all sorts of questions.
Do you think you'll get a game today, Fred? Can you get me Jimmy's autograph, Fred? How many goals do you think Town will get today, Fred?
Give it a rest, little uns. I haven't even got to ground yet, laughed Fred. They passed 3 old men sitting on a bench smoking pipes.
Hey, watch out for their defender, Fred, me lad. Oh, he's all right, big un. Hey, won't want to get on the wrong side of his boots.
Rightio. Thanks, Mr. Popplethwaite, called Fred. Fred and Freddie rounded a corner on the bike, and there it was. Valley Park. Town Stadium, a big building rising above the streets of brick houses. The supporters were starting to arrive. People coming from all directions, wearing stripy scarves and flat caps, waving flags and talking excitedly about the game as they headed through the turnstiles and into the ground. Fred parked his bike and hopped off. Come with me, he said to Freddie. We can go in the players' entrance and you can watch the game from our dugout. Now, I have to admit, I am only a sub. I've not had a game in a while. I'm not as big as some of the other lads, but I'm ready, just in case. Inside the stadium, they headed down the tunnel and out onto the pitch. The sound was incredible. Hundreds of fans cheering as their players jogged onto the pitch.
Right, get warming up now, lads,
said a man in a hat. That's our manager, said Fred, as he sat on a bench to change into his football socks and boots. Always left first. Lucky left. It's one of my rituals for good luck. I learnt that from fatty folk. Quite the player he were. And he didn't eat all the pies, whatever the song said Fred. Freddie sat next to Fred on the bench, feeling excited and nervous and very glad to be there with all those people willing their team to win.
And it's United with the kick-off on this momentous occasion. Quite the rivalry between these two local teams, but United are the favourites to win the trophy today. And with an incisive pass from his fullback, it's Collins on the ball for United. He's gone round one. He's gone round another. Like a knife through butter, he's through the defence, and he shoots. And he's round the back of the net. 1-0 United.
United's captain scored a great goal. The Town fans stopped singing and groaned. The United fans cheered. Fred leapt up from the bench and shouted to his teammates. Keep your heads up, lads! Keep your heads up! We can win this still! Fred told Freddie that he liked to encourage his team and keep their spirits up. And so Freddie joined Fred in singing loudly to cheer them on.
Oh, when the town, oh, when the town,
Oh, when the Town go marching in.
And Town have the ball. They are getting stuck in now, pushing on as the crowd raise the roof. But it's no good. Town have made some clean passes, but nothing is getting through this solid United defence. As the players head in for half-time, you've got to wonder if Town will be able to get back into this game.
At half-time, the team listened to the manager whilst eating oranges for energy. They're a tough team, all right. Keep digging deep. Keep pushing on. The odds are against us, but we can do it. The whistle blew and they were back onto the pitch for the second half. Come on, Town! Shouted Freddie.
Town have burst onto the pitch. It's end-to-end stuff, and Jack passes to Robinson, who crosses to find Jimmy, steaming toward goal, on his head. Oh, I say, goal!
Jimmy jumped and headed a shot into the top corner for Town. Freddie and Fred jumped up and cheered. 1-1.
yes!
But something was wrong. Jimmy landed badly and limped towards the manager. That's no good. You can't play on like that, son. Great goal, but you'll have to come off. Fred, you're up. Here's your captain's armband. Go on, Fred! Called Freddie as Fred nervously jogged onto the pitch.
Let's see what this little local lad is made of. Rather younger and smaller than the players on the field, he'll need to bring something special to this if Town are going to get the better of United in a cup final. and they're off again. United pushing forward with a chance, and it sails over the goal.
Phew, said Freddie, as United's shot missed the goal.
And as we enter the 89th minute of this hotly contested cup final, can either side find a winning goal? Now it's George for Town, and an excellent pass to his teammate, who pushes it forward and finds Farren.
Fred was past the ball as a big defender stormed towards him. Oh no, thought Freddie. But Fred flicked the ball from one foot to the other, sent the defender the wrong way, and went around him toward the goal. Yes! The Farren special! Shouted Freddie.
My, oh my, what a moment! Fred Farren dancing around the defender like he wasn't even there. What promise from the youngster.
Fred wove through the defenders and struck the ball. The crowd held their breath. The ball took flight from Fred's boot and sailed in a huge curving arc and flew past the goalkeeper's outstretched fingers to hit the back of the net.
Goal! Hold the back page! Hold the front page! The little local lad, Fred Farren, wins it for Town in the 90th minute! And the crowd go wild. Remember the name, Freddie Farren, the greatest day in the history of this football club.
The final whistle went, and the team hoisted Fred up onto their shoulders and carried him for a lap of the ground while the crowd sang. Fred waved to Freddie, and the stadium singing their name was joined by another sound. A whooshing sound. And a twinkling sound. Freddie closed her eyes, and when she opened them, she was back in her attic bedroom. The photograph was in her hand, and Fred was back in his row of teammates. He gave Freddie a wave, and then he sat still. Freddie took the photo to show her mum. Oh yeah, that's your great-great-great-great-uncle? A Farren. Well, he will have lived here before it was your granddad's house. Was it Steve, maybe? Mum said. It was Fred, said Freddie. And then she said, can we go back to the park, please? I want to play football now. Back at the park, the children in their United t-shirts were still playing. Freddie strode over to the touchline, stood up straight and said, can I play? Fred Farren was one of the greatest Town players there ever was. And one day, Freddie Farren will be too. That's where we're going to leave our story for today. Freddie was very brave to join the game in the park in the end. I wonder, has someone ever made you believe in yourself? Or maybe you've helped someone else to be brave, to feel the nerves and do it anyway. In our story, Football Freddie, Freddie challenged herself to practice her football skills. I bet you have lots of skills. Maybe you could challenge yourself to try a new one. I'd like to hear about these challenges and to join them together to make our next story. If you'd like to be part of our next story, here's what to do. Number 1, set yourself a challenge. You could do keepy uppies like Freddie, or run across the park or up and down the stairs in record time, or see how many times you can throw something on target, how many hops you can do in a row, or how long you can hula hoop for while singing a song. It can be anything. Number 2, complete your challenge and do a celebration. Famous footballers love to celebrate when they score a goal, so strike a pose and hear the crowd roar. Number 3, tell me about your challenge. This can be a photo or a short film clip. Ask your grown-up to help you and send it to us so that we can make our next story. I can't wait to hear about your challenges and to see those celebrations. Goodbye.
Fidget, stop.